Toyota, Honda, the Japanese automakers for the most part this year have been crushing it, including Mazda, Subaru. Nissan's had some rough, turbulent waters. We're going to talk about them today as well. But things are starting to really slow down, not only for the giant Toyota, but for the other Japanese automakers. We have sales and production coming in for the first half of 2024, and June is looking like it is possibly the first domino to spread into the second half of this year of production and sales getting major setbacks. We have all the spreadsheet goodness here from Honda, Subaru, Toyota, Mazda, and then we'll talk about some Nissan developments as well as Mitsubishi. So grab your snacks and drinks, buckle in. We got a long one ahead of us. If you guys love this nerdy breakdown of sales, production, export data, all that good stuff, and where the market is and where it's going, if you like all that good stuff, especially when it comes to Japanese automakers, make sure you are subscribed. Hit that like button. And I'm going to just get rid of my face for the most part because we have massive spreadsheets that we're working on today. We'll put a little Kirk maybe at the top left, something like that. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to start with the world's largest automaker, Toyota. And things are starting to not look so... I don't know if you guys saw that. Probably not because the screen's so small, but it's thunderstorming here, and you might be able to hear the thunder. First thing we're going to hit on is production. For the first half of this year, it looked like it was pretty good. But June came in, it was minus 13%, and that has dragged down the global production. You got to also keep in mind, here in the United States, we're having Tacoma supply chain issues down in Mexico. We are having a stop sale of the Grand Highlander as well as the TX. That won't start at the earliest until the end of October. So we have two huge hiccups for worldwide production. Production inside of Japan, why is it down so much? Well, we've had huge scandals over there, especially with Daihatsu and Hino, and their volume has really taken a major hit, especially with Daihatsu. But that's really affecting production in the land of the rising sun, which will, of course, lead to lower sales. And you can see as they break down Daihatsu here, minus 45% global production inside of Japan, minus 63%. This is really hurting Toyota. Hino as well, down massively as the brand has just been hit with emission scandals over the past few years and other issues. Better yet, we have production by country. We'll go into sales by country as well. But production by country in the United States, it's been up 17.5% this year. That is fantastic. The Tacoma in Mexico, and this is big, guys. Tacoma production down, you could say, minus 27%. So, and in June, minus 14%. It's not looking good. Now, they make other cars, just the Tacoma is the main one that we get here in the United States. All right, we're going to get straight into, we're going to skip Europe and we're going to get into Asia because we know the Chinese market is massive. Chinese market's down 21% year over year. Ouch. And it's not like, when is the bleeding going to stop, right? There's just too much competition there. Too many questionable Chinese incentives as well for hometown, non-joint venture Chinese brands, especially startups. So it's really questionable what's going to happen in China, but it's not looking good for any foreign automaker right now. Vietnam seeing some setbacks, but the big volume, Thailand seeing some setbacks, minus 16%. They're saying economic downturn in Thailand and stricter regulations on automobile loans. Interesting, they don't say anything about China. Guys, this is the biggest market, and they're just kind of glossing over it. So that's a bit disappointing. Looking at individual sales per region, this will also tell us what's going on in China. Now, interestingly, production in China is down 21%, while sales are down 10%. All right, so it's not as big of a drop yet, but it will be. But overall, Asia, minus 2% for the month, down 6% on the year for Toyota. Worldwide sales is minus on the year, and it's going to keep going down with these big production drops that are happening across the globe for Toyota, from Japan to China to North America. Let's get into the sales of electrified vehicles, including hybrids here. Toyota's electrified vehicles for the first half of this year is up about 20%. Even in June, it was up 17%. But things are going in the wrong direction in Japan. A lot of the Daihatsus maybe had small hybrid powertrains on them, and that's why we see a big double-digit setback there inside of Japan. And then, of course, we'll see even bigger numbers of the electrified sales outside of Japan. Largely, the Camry's fully hybrid now, right? If you look at Europe, it's like 75% of Europe sales are fully or hybridized or electrified in some way, shape, or form. Mild hybrids, Toyota doesn't really make any of those. Plug-in hybrids, they keep making more and more of them. But in June, look at this big setback, minus 1% to 2% in global sales. But sales outside of Japan is where it matters a lot. We're seeing a lot of plug-in hybrids being sold outside of Japan. You can look at the CHR plug-in hybrid, for example, being sold outside of Japan, and that is a new vehicle in the plug-in hybrid in the new Prius Prime, but that's on stop sale as well, and production is still stopped on the Prius Prime and Prius because of a door handle latch recall. So I've covered that a few times on the channel, but that's also hurting Toyota sales and production numbers. So plug-in hybrids going in the right direction, especially outside of Japan. If we look at not fuel cell, no one cares. Battery electric, some people don't, a lot of people don't care about battery electric either. Where's Toyota on this? They've sold 73,000 globally. That's very, very little compared to, let's say, Tesla, for example. They're up, it's up 58% on the year, right? Because 73,000 versus 46,000 last year for the first half. They've sold a plus 35% for the month of June. Sales inside of Japan, not looking good. A month of June even looking worse. And sales outside of Japan is looking quite strong. But again, their sales volume is still pretty low for battery electric. And we'll see. They want to sell 3.5 million BEVs by 2030. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. I believed in it for a while, but with how the battery electric market is right now, where the economy is and where it's going, I just am not so sure. They can sell a ton of them in China, but outside of China, outside of Europe, especially here in the United States, I think they're going to have some struggle selling battery electrics. People want their hybrids right now here in North America. Let's get into sales of Lexus. You guys know I started this channel as a Lexus Master Sales Consultant, so I'm always excited to see which markets are doing well for the luxury arm of Toyota. We have worldwide sales up about 8% for the first half of the year, but it's kind of flatlining for June. Sales inside of Japan, not good, double digits down. Sales outside of Japan, double digits up. But things are really leveling out for the month of June outside of Japan, especially when you look at like the Lexus TX stop sale, right? So, the TX was available for the first 5 months of the year. That's going to help volume, and now it's flatline, right? Because there's no more being made until the fix on the airbag driver side. So North America, anyways, up 10% so far. June is slowing down for Lexus. Latin America is up. Europe is up. Asia is up double digits on the year. But what I'm looking at here is the month of June, and this is a kind of a red flag here. North America, so we went from 10% down to 5% for the year compared to June. In Latin America, minus 3%. Europe, up only about 2.5%. Asia down 2.5%, largely probably because of China. Oceania taking some huge hits, down 20%. Middle East, down 2%. Africa, down 22%. So it looks like things are really cooling off in the month of June for Lexus, and that shouldn't be the case. The summer is typically a hot time for Lexus, and it looks like globally things are slowing down for them. So overall for Lexus and Toyota, we're seeing some setbacks in terms of sales and production, and it will be interesting to see where the rest of the year takes us. But we're going to move on to Honda here. Here we go on to Honda. So Toyota's seeing some slowdowns. What about Honda? Now you got to keep in mind, Honda is still quite a ways behind of their height when they were in 2019. They haven't caught back up to pre-pandemic sales and production quite yet. So let's see where they're at and what's going on. Worldwide production in Japan, it's about flat, up 2%. Outside of Japan, year over year, it is down quite a bit, down 9%, but it's down even more in the month of June. You have to keep in mind the Accord, the TLX, and the Integra are all sharing assembly lines right now in, I think it's in Ohio. Accord will eventually go to Indiana, if I remember correctly, and there will be another production line going online, a revised production line going online in Ohio. So you have the Integra and TLX on one production line, and then on the other one, you'll have EVs, and I'm even hearing the Prelude, all right, will be produced. It'll be kind of like a flex line where they can produce EVs, hybrids, other stuff. So right now, Honda's seeing some big production dips because they're getting ready for next generation vehicles, I guess you could say. So it's down for them, especially outside of Japan, where things are kind of just humming along as normal inside of Japan, unlike Toyota, who's just caught up in a lot of their own pitfalls with Daihatsu and Hino, etc. All right, even the Prius and like we even, and look, I didn't even mention the 4Runner being delayed again. So like, we need to move on from Toyota. But Toyota's just, they're so big right now that the mismanagement is finally creeping up and really showing its ugly head at this point. When a company's just too big to manage, and that seems to be what's happening with Toyota. Honda's a huge company, but they're very segmented. All right. Honda really likes to have North American vehicles just built in North America, and, you know, production in Southeast Asia or in Asia doesn't really affect our vehicles here. And then, of course, we have, you know, Honda Power Sports and Honda Jet, all that other stuff Honda does. But Honda seems to be, at least right now, a better managed company. All right. And that's why we're seeing production in Japan anyways, pretty much unaffected, while Toyota's reeling. Outside Japan, like I said, they're doing a lot of plant revisions here in North America, and that's hurting their production for the time being, but it will recover. Let's break it down a little bit more. All right, so in North America, production has been up year over year, but in the month of June, it has been down, like I said, because of that Ohio plant. All right, 88% production compared to last year in June for Honda. Asia, look at this. This is unbelievable. Honda in the wrong direction right here. This is what's really pulling down their production. The lack of interest in Honda in the month of June in China, they're really crimping down. I think they just shut down a plant or assembly line, if I remember correctly. So production is falling fast in China. Asia, it's getting tough as well. If I remember right, we also had a plant closing in Thailand, and they're going down to just one plant in Thailand, largely because of the Chinese cheap automakers exporting EVs into Southeast Asia, flooding the market, making it hard for Honda. All right, what about Mazda? Mazda is actually on track to sell up to 450,000 vehicles in the United States this year. If that happens, that's going to smash any previous records that I'm aware of. But domestic production is down for the first half of the year, 11% for Mazda, but it's going in the right direction. It seems like only down 3% on the month of June. Overseas production, well, they make the CX-50 in Alabama. They make the Mazda 3, well, some of them, as well as some of the CX-30s down in Mexico. It looks like that production could be up. So production up overseas, production down in Japan, and global production overall down 3%, but it's positive for the month of June. So very different than what we're seeing with Honda and Toyota. I'm not sure why the CX-5 is down 7.5% year over year. The Mazda 3 is down 14% year over year. Just reviewed both the sedan and the hatchback. Check out those reviews. And the CX-30 is down. And the CX-30 is seeing a lot of demand, I think. Again, the CX-50 is doing well with production in Alabama, but the CX-30 that I think is mainly made in Mexico is down 11%. Mazda 3 up 30%. So maybe the Mazda 3 Mexico production is improving. So it's very strange what's going on without more details here from Mazda. Global sales, USA up 10%. Domestic sales in Japan down 31%. But we're headed in even in a stronger direction. Look at June. June was up nearly 20% for Mazda, even though they're reeling in their home market of Japan. China down 15%. Again, if we go back to Honda, China's down a lot more for Honda than it is for Mazda. Mazda only down just a tiny bit compared to its Japanese cohorts. All right. Europe up about 9% on the month. So Mazda overall is doing pretty good for sales, kind of neutral so far on the year. With USA taking a big production on the backs of CX-50, CX-90, and CX-70. What about good old Subaru? Also sort of a subsidiary of Toyota like Mazda is. Toyota, I think, has like a 20% stake in Subaru and a 5% in Mazda. Domestic production up for the month of June, down 5%, but it's down 8% for the year. So it's the first decrease in 2 years for the first half of the year for Subaru. Overseas production, though, they make a lot of Subarus in Indiana, I believe, up 17%, the third consecutive month of increase. We have the new Forester being produced there soon. Overseas production, largely in the United States, again, up 17% for the first half as well as June. Interestingly, Subaru does not give us global sales. They give us Japanese sales, which is on the decrease, especially with their small cars. They're specializing in the larger cars in Japan right now. Now, Nissan's not doing so hot. I don't have numbers for them, but Nissan is reducing production across the globe because the demand for their vehicles is plummeting in China, in North America, probably even Europe. So they're slashing output at its top Japanese plant where they produce, I'm pretty sure they produce the Rogue there. Most of the Rogues we get in the United States are built here in the United States. We know that they essentially had no profit from their last quarter, and a lot of it has been because they're advertising a lot, and they have to advertise a lot because there's a lot of cars piling up on the lots, and there's a lot of cars piling up on the lots because their product is just not enticing compared to the competition. Nissan has no hybrids here in North America, and that is hurting them. And what do they have? Well, they have the Aria, and it's not a bad car. It's a pretty good car if you get a great lease on it, but Nissan's spending like $10,000 plus to incentivize each individual Aria being moved off the lot. On a lighter note, Nissan, Honda, they have a joint, I don't know, it's not a joint venture. It's like kind of a memorandum of understanding to develop software for EVs together. Mitsubishi's getting in on the action. This is after Nissan has kind of stepped away from Renault. Mitsubishi just does whatever Nissan tells them to because Nissan has a huge stake in Mitsubishi. So Mitsubishi's getting in on the action with Honda so they can develop electric vehicle technology, especially on the software end. But it could expand outside of there in terms of, motors, inverters, e-axles, all that good stuff, possibly platforms in the future. Who knows how far this will go? But it seems like Nissan and Mitsubishi have so much to gain by teaming up with Honda. I'm not sure other than Honda getting their costs reduced for research and development by having Nissan and Mitsubishi, it's like Honda's just so well off by themselves. They don't really need any additional help. But there might be some, stuff going on in the background from the Japanese government saying, hey, Honda, team up with Nissan here. It'll reduce your costs, and Nissan, we really need them to do well for the economy. I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, Nissan holds a 34% stake in Mitsubishi. And things for these companies are bad in China. Mitsubishi left China straight up at the end of last year. Honda and Nissan have been shutting down plants in China this year because they don't have competitive enough EVs that are cheap enough. So it's a messy situation for these companies, especially in Asia for them. In North America, Honda's very, very healthy, and that's going to be probably the most important market for them going forward, I would say. Same for Nissan. With how bad Nissan's doing in China right now, Nissan isn't doing that fantastic anywhere, unfortunately. I wish we had an Xterra here stateside. I wish we had their e-Power hybrids. there's just a lot I feel like Nissan could be doing better, instead of just kind of, they seem like they're 10 years behind, which is just, it seems leap years in today's automotive market. But anyways, hopefully good things come from this. They're able to produce cars, better software. As we get more concrete information on this team up, I'll be able to share what that means for the consumer in the long term. Hopefully it means better cars at lower prices. That's what we can hope for. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.